Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera. Today we are going to look at the next learning outcome, which is the explaining general format of method definition and method call. In this specific learning outcome, you will be able to identify component in method definition and method call. So user-defined method can be categorized into two categories. The first one will be the static user-defined method. The second one will be the non-static user-defined method. So you are going to learn about the non-static user-defined method. Okey, apa yang dimaksudkan sebagai non-static user-defined method? Okey, awak sendiri dah faham apa itu user-defined method. Basically, programmer that will create the method by themselves. And what does it mean by non-static? So, non-static is basically there is no static keyword stated in the method definition lah. Okay, the non-static method can access any static method and static variable. So now if you look into the method definition and method call for non-static user-defined method, you can see it is basically return type, method name parameters, and method body. And as for the method call, you can see there are two styles of writing, object instance or object instance variable. So this particular part is the one that you will frequently use for this syllabus of matriculation. Okay, as you can see in your in the slide right now, I cropped this picture from your tutorial book from your module. Okay, there are two separate things here. The first one is method definition, second one is method call. So you can see it is labeled here with the return value type, method name, and formal parameters which belong to the method header. And if you can see from int result until return result, these are all the statements for method body. And you can also see the return value here is result. Okay, anything after the keyword return is the return value. Okay, so return value ni dia mesti ada data type dia lah. Kalau kat sini kita tengok result ni, cari balik ke atas, dia adalah type integer. Okay, soalan juga selalu tanyalah apakah itu formal parameter. So formal parameter ikut yang dia anak panah ni, yang ni sahaja num1 and num2. Okay, and the parameter list dia start daripada integer sampai number 2. Okay, dipisahkan dengan simbol koma kat sini lah. Okay, so yang ni you kena ingat formal parameter, parameter list, return value, method body and so on lah. Okay, as for invoke a method, kalau ada perkataan invoke ni maksudnya dia adalah method call. Okay, kat sini kita akan paskan the actual parameters ataupun the nama glamour dia, argument. Okay, so we look into the first example of non-static method. Alright, non-static method mana tu? Yang ni. Okay, awak boleh tengok. Okay, ni dia lari sikit tapi method definition ni start daripada atas ni, yang warna biru ni, integer sampai the curly braces down here. Okay, ni semua yang warna biru ni adalah the segment for method definition. Okay, and yang warna kuning ni dia adalah method call lah. So when you want to call a method, you have to have the instance of the object. And then you will call by putting a dot right after the object's instance. Okay, contoh macam kat sini object instance kita letak assign dia kepada variable G. And then G will letakkan dot kecil kat situ and nama method and also the argument lah. Okay, and the whole thing here, the method call will be assigned to a variable S that will hold the return value of sum. Okay, return value kat sum kat sini, kalau kita tengok return value-nya adalah dia return A plus B. Okay, data type dia apa? Data type A plus B adalah integer. Okay, so dia akan return integer. So kalau kita tengok kat sini, yang akan mengingati, yang akan mengingati return value adalah integer s. Maka kita akan print outkanlah integer s tu di sini. Alright, as for method call, ni sama, it is usually wrapped in a main method in a class, and kalau soalan selalunya akan tanyalah yang mana satu adalah method call. So saya highlightkan dua kat sini, yang atas ni adalah object instance, yang kat bawah ni adalah the method call using the object instance. Alright, so G is basically the variable of the object instance. And then sum ni adalah method name lah. Okay, macam ni kita tahu kita tengah call, so kita akan letak simbol dot kat sini. Okay, dot and pass the actual parameter, which is the argument lah, n and m. Alright, and then we have to assign the return value to a variable s, because we know sum method will return a value of integer. Okay, tadi kita bercakap tentang the main method, dia duduk dekat mana, apakah yang dilakukan oleh main G, new main, and integer s equals to g.sum. Sekarang soalan selalunya tanya untuk UPS lah, kita fokus slide ni untuk UPS. UPS akan selalunya tanya mana satu argument dalam code segment ni. Okay, so argument adalah n and m. Okay, jawapan dia n and m. Okay, di mana ni huraian dia lah, n akan memegang value 4 and m will hold the value of 6. Okay, as for the method call, ada yang student saya pernah confuse, dia kata method call ni yang main G equals to new main. Bukan ya, yang ni adalah object instance. Method call bawah ni iaitu g.sum bracket n comma m close bracket. Okay, so this particular part is the method call. Alright, now we look into the method definition. So this part is the code segment for method definition. Soalan pun selalu tanyalah what is the method header, method body, return type, method name, formal parameters, parameter list, and return value. So method header ni dia start daripada atas ni integer sampai ke hujung ni. Okay, and then the method body, semua yang ada dalam curly braces ini adalah method body. So you tulis return A plus B. And as for the return type here, okay, kita tengok return type dia yang atas ni lah, return type integer. Okay, and the method name, as you know, it is sum. Okay, formal parameters, ingat formal parameters cuma ambil yang parameters A and B sahaja. Integer ni kita tak ambil lah sebab dia tanya formal parameters. So formal parameters is A and B only. Okay, kalau dia tanya parameter list, baru you letak integer A and integer B. Yang ni mengikut syllabus metrik lah, ya. So kena ikut. And the return value is A plus B. Okay, return value is anything selepas keyword return. Okay, return adalah satu keyword dalam Java, and selepas keyword return tu, which is A plus B, it is the return value. Okay, so let's do the first exercise. Okay, as you can see, this is the class volume. There are two methods here. The first one is the main method. The second one is the sphere volume method. Alright, so in the main method, you will have the object instance, radius, sphere volume, and then a print statement, a print Java statement. And then in the sphere volume method, you will have a process of 4 over 3 times pi times r times r times r. Alright, and you can see that it will return directly the value of anything here lah. The process, the value yang lepas buat operation ni, kita akan returnkan that value. Alright, so daripada kod yang ni, bolehkah awak awak tulis, keluarkan satu kertas, tulis manakah method header. Alright, and then yang kedua, apakah method name? And the third one is, what is the return type? The formal parameters. the argument and parameter list. Right, now we have the second exercise. Can you point out the same thing for this particular code segment? So this one is a Java program about KMKT, and there are boys, girls, and then we will print the total students. Okay, there are another method here that will calculate B plus G. Alright, so can you identify all these structure? Okay, if you have your answer ready, let's check the answer. Okay, the first one would be, the method header for the first code would be double sphere volume double R, where you can take it directly from here. Okay, and the method name would be sphere volume. Return type is double. Formal parameters is R. Okay, and the argument will be radius. Ini adalah argument dalam method call. And the parameter list will be double R. Alright, now the second answer for exercise 2. The method header will be integer total students, integer B, integer G, which is this particular code. Okay, and the method name would be the total students. Return type would be integer. The formal parameters would be B and G. The argument would be boys, comma, girls. Okay, this one is the argument. It is in the method call. Parameter list would be integer B, integer G. So you have to take the data type as well lah. If it asks you about the parameter list. If it asks you about the formal parameters, you don't have to put data type. Okay, so as the summary for this particular video, you would be able to identify the component in method definition and the component for method call. Alright, so now we are going to construct non-static user-defined method. The non-static user-defined method is basically you have to determine or build your own method definition and then your method call. So in the method definition, it is the first step, which in your book it is written as define the method. So where is the location in the code? It is usually inside a class, and after knowing that it should be inside a class, you have to know method definition ni dia selalunya ada header, di mana header ni you kena decide lah return type dia apa. Kalau return type untuk dia mempunyai return value, maka return type dia antara yang 5 itu, iaitu 4 primitive dan 1 to string. Okay, tetapi sekiranya return type dia adalah void, okay, maka kita akan tulis kalau return value dia no return value, so you kena letak void as the keyword for return type. And create a method name. Okay, nama ni letak je apa-apa asalkan dia follow the rules of identifier and sesuai lah dengan operation yang awak nak buat tu. Kemudian you have to determine the formal parameters. Okay, the formal parameters macam mana nak determine? So, mula awak kena determine berapa banyak parameter yang awak nak guna. Okay, yang kedua adalah apakah data type parameter itu. Okay, so lepas awak dah determine the method header, now you can build the method body. So method body ni apa? Method body ni adalah the suitable Java statements according to the process or operation that the method supposed to do. Alright, now we look into the second step, which is method call. So dalam buku awak ditulis invoke the method. So kalau ada keyword invoke ni maksudnya dia method call lah. Okay, so location ni maksudnya di mana dia di dalam Java program awak. Selalunya dia akan berada di dalam main method ataupun method lain. Alright, so now you have to create the objects instance first. Okay, after you have creating the objects instance, now you will you will identify the method to use that has return value or not. So sama tadi. You kena tengok balik method definition awak yang awak dah buat. Kalau ada return value, maka kita kena ada assign kepada variable of the same type as the return value. If it does not has return value, then you do not have to assign to a variable. Alright, now the the fourth point that you have to know is create a method call and pass the parameters if the parameter exists. So, macam mana nak create method call? Okay, macam biasa, ambil object name. Object name ni selepas class name tadi itulah the variable for the object. Okay, the variable for the object ataupun object name dot method name. Okay, in the bracket parameters, which is ini bukan parameter, ni tolong betulkan. Ini adalah argument. Okay, argument lah. Okay, sorry, my pen is agak susah untuk tulis. Okay. Okay, argument ya. Ni argument, bukan parameters. Nanti confuse dengan method definition. Okay, now we look into the example 7.1 which has return value. So, mula-mula kena buat apa? Kalau nak buat method in your Java program, mula kena buat method definition. So, tentukan dulu kita nak letak kat mana. Contoh dalam buku awak, okay, example 7.1, lab 8. Kalau tengok location yang diletak di dalam kod adalah inside a class name method sample. Method headernya apa? Okay, return type-nya integer, method name-nya add numbers, formal parameters a and b of type integer. Method body-nya adalah integer sum equal to a plus b and return sum. So method body ni ikut operation yang sesuai. Okay, now we look into the method call of the same example. Method call-nya macam mana? Mula kita kena decide dia nak duduk dalam main method ataupun dalam method lain. So kat sini dia duduk dalam main method. Alright, and then we have to create the objects instance which is method sample. Okay, nama kelas kita obj which is the object name equals to new method sample. Again, this is the class name. Jangan lupa, ini penting. Okay, kalau tak ada bracket ni, maksudnya tu bukan instance lah. Kita gagal lah. Okay, so tak naklah gagal. Kita kena ingat untuk object instance, hujung dia kena ada bracket. Okay, now identify the method to use has return value or not. Okay, as for this case, it has return value which is integer. And then, kalau ada return value, kita kena buat apa? Kita kena assign kepada variable of the same type as the return value. Okay, as for this case, we assign to variable result. So, ini adalah method call kita lah. Okay, obj adalah yang object name kita. Add numbers adalah method name. Number 1 and number 2 are the passing parameters ataupun the actual parameters ataupun nama glamour dia argument. Okay, so num1, num2 ni kalau kita tengok dia adalah satu variable, maka bila kita kata dia adalah satu variable, kita kena declare. Okay, must declare and assign num1, num2 before we pass as argument. So, kalau tengok dalam coding awak, num1 and num2, it holds a value of 10 and 15 respectively. Alright, so kalau awak run coding ni, awak akan dapat sum is 25. Okay, boleh try type. Okay, now we look into the second example, which is example 7.8. This particular Java code, it does not contain returning value. Okay, without returning value. So, kalau kita nak build code kita without returning value, apa yang kita kena fokus? Kita kena fokus kepada inside location of the code. Okay, of course it is inside a class named Java method 3, and then method header. Okay, decide the return type. Okay, because it does not return a value, the return type will be void. Okay, and now we look into the method name, which is student rank. Determine the formal parameters, which is points of type integer. Right, the method body, okay, kita buat apa yang sesuai. Sekarang ni kita nak tentukan kalau seorang student tu dapat 600 point, maka dia dalam ranking yang top. Okay, kalau dia dalam 300 point dan ke atas, dia dalam middle ranking. And the third one, kalau dia kurang daripada 300, maksudnya dia ranking bottom. Okay, and now we decide on the method call. Okay, method call ni kita decide yang pertama sekali inside location dulu. Okay, selalunya dalam peringkat metrik, memang kita akan letak dalam main method lah. Okay, and then create object instance. Okay, object instance ni macam biasa, kena ada class name, object name, perkataan new, okay, equals to new, Java method which is also a class name, and then ada bracket. Identify the method to use has return value or not. For this case, it does not has return value. Therefore, we does not assign it to any variable. We does not pull up. We do not. Okay, we do not assign to a variable. Okay, now create a method call and pass the parameter. So the parameter exists lah. As for this case, it is 550 parameter pula. Okay, dalam method definition kita ada parameter, maka kita kena pass argument. Okay, so obj.studentRank 550. Okay, kat sini kalau notice, we don't assign to a variable. Kenapa? Sebab it does not has return. Okay, now as you can see, this main method would run first. Therefore, it will call directly studentRank method with argument 550. Okay, 550 is, okay, it will go to the first condition. So this one is false. And it will go to the second condition. This one is true. Therefore, it will print rank equal middle. Okay, boleh try run lah. Okay, now we will focus on the final learning outcome, which is construct program that will use the standard or user-defined method based on given problem. So, macam mana nak buat? Okay, boleh try jawab exercise 7.1 and exercise 7.2 dalam page 58 dan 61 respectively. Okay, upon completing these exercises, awak dah pun berjaya mencapai the final learning outcome. Okay, boleh teruskan.